Just a moment. I've forgotten my tea. Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon. And Van is on time 3 days in a row. Unbelievable. What world are we living in? Hey, Travis, how you living, man? Hey, Elena. How you doing, Van? You quit drinking or what? You're like on schedule. You're on time every night. Hey, Debbie. There's the president. Well, we expect that from you. You're a responsible parent. The president is the responsible parent of a young man named Michael, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. So everybody congratulate the president on doing a fine job of raising a socially conscious young man. And thank the family for their support of the live. We really do appreciate it, Madam President. Hey, Bjorn. Yes, sir. Hey, Maddie Wright. Hey, Dan. Hey, Hart. Hey, Killack. Hey, Steve with a V. Hey, Steve-O. Morning, Scully. Good morning, good afternoon. Hey, Lupin. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Saturday, the 2nd of August, which makes this the news and events of the day. For August the 1st, 2025, day 1255 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you from this major European capital currently under siege. Hey, Seawolf. The peeps are coming in. It is certainly nice to see. And there's Feisty again. I'm so glad Feisty's schedule has her back with us. You are an asset. We appreciate it, Feisty. Evening, Jackie. How you doing? There's Roy Daniels. Hey, Bertie. Oh, yeah, no two ways about it. Always glad to have you here. Thanks. Hey, Dawn. Haugly. Trump put some submarines closer to Russia. No, he didn't. He just made a Truth Social post. What happens after that is anybody's guess. Evening, Zoe. But we'll talk about it. We will talk about it coming up here. Hey, Neil. Hey, Jan. Nightshade. Let's not have to call HR, please. Well, I'm not in a bad mood. It's Friday. But it has been a tough week here. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. You know, last night the Russians sent only 72 drones. But we saw 3 people unalived and another 40 injured. Today is a day of mourning in Kyiv. On Wednesday, we saw 300 drones come in, one of the biggest attacks on the city. We saw 31, the death toll is now 31 from Wednesday's attacks. Among the dead are 5 children. Bad timing, Big Hawk. Bad timing. But I appreciate the thought. But among the dead are 5 children, ages 2 to 17. Another 16 children were wounded. There are 5 still in intensive care here in Kyiv. That's the most children killed or injured, killed and injured in a drone attack on the capital in the history of the war, in the whole war. The kinds of people that we saw unalived included a mother and her 2 children, who is actually the colleague of a friend of mine, which is the closest that I've come to knowing anybody killed in this conflict to date. A Among the dead was a preschool teacher, along with two of her three sons and her brother. The father and the younger son survived. I can't imagine how they're doing today. And of course, yesterday we talked about 6-year-old Mativ, who was murdered sleeping in his bed by a Russian drone. Now, the guy who is responsible for these attacks, the commander inside of the Russian Federation forces who orchestrates, coordinates, and orders these attacks, has been identified. His name is Ruslan Nikolaevich Nebrug. This guy will never have another moment's peace. The SBU is plastering his picture everywhere. There is nowhere in the world that this murderous son of a bitch can hide. The righteous wrath of the Ukrainian people will hunt him down, and he will face justice one way or another. He's a dead man walking, Little Red. Him and every one of his co-conspirators that every day murder Ukrainians. They will face justice. I used to think they might not. I used to think Putin might pull it out of his ass. But that time is over. The inflection point, where even if they stop the fighting today, the inflection point at which the Russian economy will collapse has been reached. They're done. It is just a question of time. And I'll tell you, just as a side note here, you guys know, I read all the local papers. I listen to all the local influencers. I try to write not personally, I don't know these people personally, but their social media is what they're saying. I spend a lot of my time translating using Google Translate, Russian and Ukrainian into English. And consistently for the last week or 10 days now, all these influencers in Kyiv, all of these political people, have been dropping hints that some big surprise is coming for Russia. And I'm going to be very interested to see what that is. But I believe them. I believe that there is a surprise coming for Russia. Now, we may not see it till the fall. It may not be this August, whatever. But it's coming. It's coming. Now, I want to start this conversation talking about Trump seizing extra executive powers. Because one of the hallmarks of Trump and his administration is that they've been slashing programs that have been enacted by Congress. And one of the fundamental principles that we all learn as children in the United States is that in the U.S., Congress has the power of the purse. Congress funds what America does, not the president. He only signs off on it. So all of these institutions that he is riding into the earth, he's doing so illegally because you can't disband USAID, which was created by an act of Congress, simply by wishing it away or by fiat, like the dictator wannabe he wants to be. And today in Congress, we saw something that may be an effort of Congress to exert its power of the purse a little bit. Senator Sheehan of New Hampshire, a Democrat, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Republican, have introduced a bipartisan bill called the Support for Ukraine 2025 bill. The content is much more interesting than the name. And basically, they have introduced this bipartisan piece of legislation allocating $54.6 billion in humanitarian, military, and governance assistance aid to Ukraine. The intention of this bill is to bolster Kyiv's defenses while, the authors claim, strengthening Trump's own negotiating position with Putin, framing the legislation as giving Trump new tools to bring Putin to the negotiating table. The bill's authors call it the Supporting Ukraine Act of 2025, very original, and describe it as a comprehensive 2-year plan to provide military, humanitarian, and governance assistance to Ukraine. There is an innovative funding strategy on this. And that is, right, because we're living in a Trump world where Trump is slashing budgets, even entire departments and organizations, which he does not have the power to do, but he's trying to do it anyway. In this world of Trump's slash and burn of the budget, there's an innovating funding scheme. Up to 1/3 of the $54 billion will be financed by seizing Russian assets in the United States. As Senator Shaheen explained, this bipartisan bill will strengthen President Trump's negotiating hand with Vladimir Putin and firmly put an end to this senseless war. Finally put an end to this senseless war. It also makes clear that Russian assets held in the United States should be used to cover the costs to provide weapons to Ukraine. It puts the Russians on notice that the Americans are going to pick their pocket. They're not only going to pick their pocket, they're going to give the money to the Ukrainians in the form of weapons that they can use against the Russians. This is, if they can get this thing through, this is great news. Now, one of the aspects of this, right, you got to play the game in Washington, and with Trump and his base, you can't be spending taxpayer dollars on foreign wars. So this will relieve the burden of foreign aid from the American taxpayer while holding Moscow financially liable for its illegal aggression. That's the idea. There's also an opportunity for European countries to contribute to a fund that will then be used to purchase weapons contracts for Ukraine, if Trump doesn't steal it all. This bill intends to reestablish the klepto-capture task force to enforce sanctions and seize oligarch property in the United States. It raises presidential drawdown authority for up to $6 billion a year. Puts China on notice that America will not abandon her allies. And it creates the Lessons Learned from Ukraine Task Force, a military think tank kind of task force to study what's happened on the battlefield in Ukraine, study Ukrainian innovation, and make recommendations to the Joint Chiefs of Staff regarding programs, policies, processes, and protocols that America can learn from our Ukrainian allies in their fight against Russian aggression. All of that is good. The problem is, of course, it makes sense. It does everything that Trump wants it to do. It doesn't cost American taxpayers. We're using European funds and Russian funds to fund this thing. But Trump's not going to like that reestablishing Project Klepto Capture thing. That goes after his Russian friends. How much of this bill do you think Trump is going to let get through Congress? That is the big question. Will the Senate be able to draft a copy of this legislation, get the votes, and then get it into the House without the president killing it. That is the thing that remains to be seen. God knows it would be nice to see my tax dollars, some of it, go to support emergent democracies in the world fighting for their lives. Hey, Kath Brown. Hey, Abby. Hey, Jay. Okay, now, Germany. Pistorius announced today that Germany is getting ready to deliver 2 more Patriot batteries to Ukraine. Now, Germany initially gave 3 Patriot batteries to Ukraine from their own stocks. Joe Barnes from the London Telegraph broke the story last week that the Germans delivered 3 Patriot batteries to Ukraine last week. Now today, Boris Pistorius, the German defense minister, is saying that there are 2 more en route, that launchers, additional Patriot launchers, will land in Ukraine within the week. The additional components, it appears, are going to be coming in piecemeal over the next several months, but all deliveries should be completed by January 1st of 2025. Now, Ukraine had, we believe, 8 working Patriot batteries. The 3 that were just sent brings the total up to 11, plus 2 more over the next couple months is 13. That's 1 shy of what Kyiv says is the minimum number of Patriots that it needs to defend its skies. So we are getting close. We're getting closer and closer every day to some kind of air security here in Ukraine, pardon me. Now, Trump, last night I did a segment called Trump is Full of Shit. And we went over all of the big announcements that the Trump administration made this week. And I pointed out why every one of them is a fucking lie, an outright lie, a dissemination, or only a partial truth. Trump seems to know it, right? Remember we talked about the sanctions and tariffs and how they're never going to happen or Russia doesn't care? Well, Trump said the words today, I don't know that sanctions bother him, Putin. I don't know if it has any effect, but we're going to do it. I mean, he knows exactly what we said last night is true. Putin does not give a fuck, and it's not going to change his mind in any way. THAADs. We just ordered a bunch of THAADs, David. Did you see that? Is that why that's on your mind? Because the stockpiles are low. We just went through a bunch of them defending Israel from... Okay, let's come back to that in the Q&A. So amidst the backdrop of Russian nuclear deterrent or nuclear threats and Medvedev rattling the nuclear saber, Trump made sure to remain level-headed and not do anything to escalate the nuclear rhetoric or tensions with Russia. No, I'm just kidding. He went full nuclear. He's a piece of shit moron. And he tweeted out on Truth Social, just in case Medvedev was serious, I am ordering nuclear submarines to appropriate locations to attack Russia. I mean, really. Now, you know I loathe Donald Trump with every fiber of my being. However, this is the kind of bitch slap that Moscow needs to shut the fuck up about nuking everybody all the time. It's such bullshit. Now there's a couple of nuclear-powered submarines carrying nuclear weapons parked right off the coast of Murmansk. Yeah, motherfuckers, there are. Pay attention. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. 1 in 4 fucking Russians live in 2 cities, St. Petersburg and Moscow. You're dumb to threaten the West, whose nukes work with nuclear Armageddon. You're idiots. Shut the fuck up. And let's not forget that these guys are spending $400 million on a disinformation campaign designed to convince the West that they're going to nuke them. Now, if you have to spend $400 million on a campaign to convince people that you're going to nuke them, you're not going to nuke them. Because if you were going to nuke them, you would fucking nuke them. So I'm so tired of hearing this bullshit from the Russians when we know that none of their tactical nuclear arsenal works. And we believe that much of the strategic arsenal does not work either. So please, enough is enough. So I did like that. That's the first thing I think that Trump has ever done that I actually approved of. That I actually thought, oh, that is a good move in this situation. Witkoff, the special envoy to the Middle East and Russia, will head to Russia after his current trip to Israel. He's there now. We got the first satellite images from the Umbra satellite of Russia's nuclear base in Kamchatka. I am very sorry to report that the experts who examined the satellite images do not believe that there has been any significant damage done to the base or that the tsunami is likely to interfere with the normal operations of the nuclear fleet in the Pacific. So it doesn't look like, right, there's no pictures, there's no subs tossed up onto the shore. There's one pier, one of the 8 piers, appears to have snapped in half and may be off its moorings. It's not even clear that it's off its moorings. So unfortunately, the idea that another leg of the nuclear triad has been kicked out from under the Russians does not appear to be accurate at this time. Okay. I have a correction. Last night, I mentioned that there was a TOS A thermobaric artillery piece destroyed outside of Pokrovsk. It turns out that that was incorrect. There were 2 blowed up outside of Pokrovsk in the last 24 hours or so. So 2 TOS A, right now, those are like $5 million a piece units. And they're still in production. So they may well be brand new units. We don't know. We don't know for sure. In Sumy, looking at the front line, in Sumy, the 155th Marine Brigade of Russian Federation forces is surrounded. They're surrounded. By tomorrow, they will all be no longer among the living, or they will be captured. They are surrounded. The garrison is surrounded there. The 63rd Mechanized Brigade has liberated Torska, not to be confused with Toretsk. Torska is a smaller town along that Crimea line. The 53rd Brigade took several Russian positions south of Dubrova. And so we're seeing Russian positions in the east get chipped away. And for the first time in some while, a town liberated in Torska. Now, Chasiv Yar is a fucking mess. I mean, there's nothing left of it, right? It's been reduced to rubble. And the Russians are claiming that they've taken it. The Ukrainians are fervently denying that to be true. But at this point, what does it matter? I mean, and I ask this question seriously. Why does anybody care? There is no Chasiv Yar anymore. There's just a pile of rubble and a mountain of dead. And I would point out to all the Russian fanboys out there that it took the Russians 26 months, 2 years, 2 months, to advance the 11 kilometers from Bakhmut to Chasiv Yar. 11 kilometers, 26 months, tens of thousands of lives either ended or wounded so badly as to be disabled for the rest of their lives. It's a nightmare. It's insane. Now, the pressure there, now here's the thing. There's a couple things about this. The pressure there is really on the Russians. 26 months to go 11 kilometers. There is a belief shared by many analysts that I am repeating here, that this is one of the most corrupt commands in all of the Russian army. In fact, when complaints were made to Moscow and investigators were sent to examine the accusations of human trafficking, drug trafficking, looting, theft, bribery, coercion, and torture of Russian soldiery. When investigators from Moscow were sent to investigate this command, they never returned to Moscow. One of the commanders recently sent a letter to his boss complaining of all of this corruption, and he was summoned to the HQ and then disappeared. No one has seen him since. Now, this would hardly be of note if it weren't for the fact that the guy he replaced disappeared in exactly the same way about 2 months ago, maybe, something like that. This exposes the rot, the corruption at the heart of the Russian war machine. It is so bad there now that we saw an entire company, nearly 100 men, rather than go on what was clearly a suicide mission, the entire company agreed to execute their officers and surrender to the Ukrainians. I haven't had a chance to do the video on it yet, but it is a story that's going to be worthy of a subplot in a Hollywood movie someday. We are getting closer and closer to that 1917 moment where all these Russians realize that if they want to live, they have to point their bayonets in the other direction, because that's where the enemy is. Closer and closer every day. We're getting there. If the Ukrainians can just hold on, it's going to go very well for them. Now, in this same direction, not far from what we're talking about here, there is video and reports of Russian soldiers in the field in mixed companies of men and women on the front line. Now, the Russian army has never allowed women into combat roles. If this is true, and these videos turn out to be legitimate, then the manpower crisis in Russia is so bad that they're doing what every man here does and turns to the women in their lives to do the jobs that they don't want to do. Not human shields, no. Uniformed, armed, driving equipment. They did that at Stalingrad. I think that was the last time, Zoe. I think that was the last time. I mean, it's been policy, as I understand it, of the Russian Federation forces that women do not get in combat roles. That is not a thing. So if they're finding their way in, I think that speaks to the real manpower issues that Russia is facing. Now, it's too little too late to do much good for Ukraine. But it is worth mentioning in the international scene, the U.S. has sanctioned firms connected to Iran's drone industry. The U.S. Treasury Department and Foreign Asset Control targeted 5 companies and 1 individual in Iran, Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan, all reportedly associated with drone manufacture in Iran, which has traditionally been funneled into Russia, right, for use against Ukrainians. They did allow women in World War II. The best sniper with over 300 confirmed kills was a woman in the Army. Hello from Sacramento. Thanks, Ricky Two Steps. Okay. I'm almost done, guys. Then we'll go to questions. Now, this sanctioning of Iranian drones, this next piece, guys, seriously, everybody who really cares about Ukraine, listen to this. Defense News quoted Russian military budget forecasts for 2025 and 2026 and 27, citing that the drone budget, so this is Russia's drone budget, was $3.5 billion from 2022 to 2024. So 3 years, right? 2022, 23, 24. $3 billion, about $1 billion a year. According to Defense News, citing documents released by the Russian Federation, by the Kremlin, the budget for drones for 2025, 26, and 27 is $1.38 billion. It's nearly half. It's not even half. It's not even $500 million a year for drones. Not even $500 million a year for drones. The Latvians who are managing the drone coalition, they're going to send $400 million worth of drones alone, on top of the 4 million drones that get produced in Ukraine. This is a drone war. You're going to cut the budget. Cutting that budget is the worst thing you could possibly do. Don't play with the Russian bear. Give me a fucking break. The Ukrainians are making themselves a bear rug, a bear skin rug, and they're going to mount that bear head on the wall. Russia is done. To believe anything else means you don't live in reality. And here's the evidence right here. Their drone budget has been slashed in half for the next 3 years. How are you going to fight a drone war without drones? Not only that, it's going to hurt the economy because they got 7,000 people in jobs making drones and 900 companies. Well, if they're cutting the budget by half those people are out of work soon. So give me a break. Russia's so done, man. You know, we're going to live through watching 500 years of Russian history end and the Russian language become nearly extinct. And we'll be better off for it. Make no mistake. Now, in last night's Ukraine attacks on Russia, Taganrog was a main target. Now, we don't know what got hit, but I can tell you what's there that it appears were the targets. The Beriev Design Bureau, right? Those are the guys that make the A-50s, the Russian AWACS. The 325th Aircraft Repair Company, the 708th Aviation Transport Company, and Atlin Aero Plant. It appears as though it was a focused attack against Russian avionics and aviation industry. Again, we have no damage assessments. We do not know what was successfully struck, only what was likely targeted. In Russia in July, the government shut down mobile internet and cable in what it's calling digital lockdowns 1,470 times. On top of that, Russia experienced over 2,200 blackouts in the last month alone. Infrastructure inside of Russia is failing, and the government in its paranoia is digitally locking down, turning off the internet and cell towers, not only to prevent Ukraine from hacking them and using them to communicate with drones, but also to make sure that Russians can't tell other Russians what's happening where they are. The desperate need to control, reflected in the recent law from the State Duma, granting the FSB the right to have unlimited pretrial detention facilities, mean that Russia knows internal strife is coming. You don't grant a secret police the right to have secret prisons, read torture chambers, where they can perform mass arrest detentions with no obligations to anybody, unless you think the end is coming. And you don't shut off the internet and the cell service at times of crisis so that people can't talk to each other. That's insanity. But there's lots of insanity in Russia today. Australia, hey, where's all my Australians? Australia, my hat's off to you. The Australians sent an AWAC to Poland to assist with Operation Baltic Sentry that will also likely relay pertinent data to Ukraine. We hope. But thanks, Australia. Now, guys, if you follow this channel, you know the name Fighter Bomber, right? Who's Fighter Bomber? Fighter Bomber is a Russian mill blogger who has a great track record of telling the truth. If a plane goes down, he admits it goes down. If the Russians shoot down a civilian plane, he admits that the Russians shot down a civilian plane. Mistakes were made, whatever. He's been a great source of information, about real information about the war, even though he is completely dedicated to Russian imperialism. He's not a good guy, right? He's a bad guy, but he's a bad guy who tells the truth, as much as we can tell. Well, you know, that's not going to work in Russia. He basically hung up his modem today and said he can't keep working because he's been blacklisted by everybody. All of the commanders and colonels who he used to trust, he used to work with, they're all gone. All his sources of information are gone. And he said, you could be arrested in some circles just for mentioning his name inside the military. So it is a very rare thing, right? I mean, if you don't have some respect for your enemy, it's not much of an enemy. And there are lots of very competent people in Russia. But they work for the most incompetent, evil bastards in the world who do not reward competence and who do not deserve their competencies. So, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting confirmations from Fighter Bomber anymore. It appears that he is out of the mix. And in a lot of ways, he can't move to Ukraine. He's been cheering the death of Ukrainians for 3.5 years. He's a war criminal, piece of shit, in so many ways. But at least he told the truth, right? Guys who tell the truth because you have to know the truth in difficult situations in order to respond appropriately. Well, the Russians don't give a fuck about any of that. So, yet another competent individual is gone. And you know what? I'm okay with that because the fewer competent individuals Russia has, and the more they persecute them, like they did with that colonel in the Chasiv Yar direction, the better it is for the Ukrainians. The better it is for the Ukrainians. Prigozhin was sometimes honest. He was. And we see where that got him, Zoe, right? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, that is my top line news for the night. Thanks so much to Michael, Madam President's young son, who for some reason felt the need to sponsor this live, which I think is a very positive reflection on his mother. So thanks to Madam President and her son Michael for sponsoring tonight's live. I have no sponsors for next week. I just paid the rent today, and I am broke. So if anybody can help out with a live sponsorship or joining the Patreon or just take pity on me, that would be great. PayPal's in the description. Big thanks to the moderator team, Travis, Jay, Maddie Wright, Feisty. Who did I forget? Oh, Pete. And big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, and Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. If you don't follow Nightshade, give him a follow. He's got daily updates coming from Ukraine all the time. Good stuff. Hey, Wes. So, guys, we got about 19 minutes left on the clock here. Questions, comments, points of observation, anything from anybody about anything. I'm doing okay, Wes. Hey, Ben Tilly. You're welcome, Maddie. Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts on our behalf. Keeping the trolls at bay. Okay is definitely better than not okay. Yes, I agree. Did I ever tell you guys here, the Ukrainians don't say okay, they say oak. It's so weird. It's just so weird. But they say oak. Thanks, Bip. I sure appreciate it, man. Thanks, David. Thanks, Feisty. And we're at 103K likes. You guys are the best. It is Friday, and we did get through the news. Secondary sanctions might be introduced in a week. I believe August 8th is the deadline. August 8th. It's fine by me. Ha, 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 ha. You're just oaking around. Is it just U.S. flexing muscles with the subs? Surely they probably already have been there. Yeah, Alex, it's meaningless nonsense, just like Medvedev says. It's meaningless. When you are the United States of America, and you have a military that is ready to fire at any given time 1,755 nuclear missiles, all within a 7-minute period, talking about it is pointless. It's stupid. You only have to talk about it if you don't have them, in my opinion. Thanks, Dino. Thanks, Steve Arnold. Sure appreciate it. A bunch of people subscribed to my TikTok here, which I do appreciate. I really do. I would rather have you in my Patreon community, but if this is easy for you, that's great. And I want to welcome all those new subscribers and thank them very much. In the last month, I think like 9 people, seven new people. And I was really surprised by that when I took a look at the list yesterday. I'm plugging along ads. So guys, it is Friday. So if anybody has any I'll answer questions about anything at all. Nightshade is correct. In the Donetsk People's Republic, they are having real problems providing drinking water. Potable water is unavailable to much of the population because the place is run by a bunch of incompetent sadists intent on stealing everything that they can before they have to run. Thanks, Gregor. Is Wagner fighting in Russia now? No, there is no more Wagner, Justin. So Wagner has been disbanded for some time. Its elements, many people left Wagner, and those people are causing all kinds of problems in all kinds of corners of the world. Others in Wagner joined the Russian military, the direct, right into the army, or they were hired into private military companies, like the Wagner PMC was. or they were reconstituted in Africa as the Africa Corps. Right? Nothing strange about that. I think the last number I saw, I think there's 2,500 of them still in Africa under the Africa Corps name. And the remains of the remains of Wagner, then are being hunted in Africa by all kinds of enemies. All kinds of enemies. The Ukrainians are there in the Sudan and in Mali, helping the Malayan and Sudanese, well, the Sudanese government and the Malayan rebels to unalive Russians. Then you have the Islamic insurgencies that are hunting them. It's not a good time to be in Wagner, that's for sure. Or what's left of Wagner. So Wagner's done, pal. What are the irritants that the Russians are putting on drones? Scully, I don't know. It's not like it's not like CS gas and chloropicrine that they're using out east. I have yet to see a good description of the agent. It may be unidentified at this time, at least publicly. I don't know. Heritage Foundation, it would be great to get rid of the Heritage Foundation. Yep. Why do they go to Africa? Oh my God, Jay, Russia's got its fingers in 24 countries in Africa. They're responsible for the overthrow of the governments in Burkina Faso, in the People's Democratic Republic of Congo, in Mali, in the Rapid Response Force that's opposed to the Sudanese government. They support them. I mean, they're causing civil wars all over Africa. Why? Because they turn to the government and they say, hey, we helped you get in power. Give us a gold mine, or give us a diamond mine, or give us 50,000 acres of timber. And so in the Central African Republic, they've got 50,000, I think, acres. It might be hectares. It's a lot of land of rosewood and acacia and other exotic woods that they're making a fortune from, chopping down the forests of Africa. They're exploiting child labor to mine cobalt. I mean, the list goes on, but they are exploiting the African continent and people and dragging it into violent cataclysms every chance they get to serve their own ends, to line their own pockets. Oh, that patch collection is Michael's. Michael collects patches, does he? Interesting. Justin Hayward asks, what are thermobaric weapons? What does it mean? So, Justin, you know what artillery is, right? Artillery is just like a big bullet shot out of a big gun, lands, makes a big boom, bang. Imagine if that artillery shell, before it went boom, could light the air on fire, causing your lungs to collapse, taking all the oxygen out of the atmosphere, causing internal organ damage to the people in the blast radius. That's a thermobaric weapon. So what it does is there's an aerosolized spray that gets sprayed out from the warhead. And when the warhead explodes, that aerosolized spray literally lights the air on fire, sucks it all out of the room, and leaves everybody with burst internal organs and collapsed lungs. It's a nightmare. Terrible way to go. And 2 were destroyed in Pokrovsk. Are the Ukrainians still using drones to drop thermite on the orcs? They are, Zoe. And I mean, I can say this, right? Tony Takiri's not here, is he? Is Tony Takiri here? Guys, if you haven't voted for Tony Takiri for Lions Club International Philanthropist of the Year in Finland, please look. Like 5 videos ago or so, I posted a video with the link to where you can vote for Tony. He's a friend of this channel. He's a good guy. And the paperwork is public, so I don't feel like I can't say this. But last year, Tony drove like, I don't know, something like 12 tons of thermite to the front lines for this shit. I mean, the pictures were unbelievable. So it's a while ago now. It's old news. And I don't think there's anything classified about it, right? But he drove, if I'm not mistaken, it was 12 tons of thermite to the front line to make those thermite drones. So he really does good work. He risks his life. I mean, just getting behind the wheel of a truck with 6 tons of thermite in it, you're risking your life. Is the green allowed in Ukraine? No, Van, it is not. They did pass a medical bill last year, but with the war, the infrastructure to get it implemented, it's not a priority. It's not a priority. Tony Takiri does bring dog food to a woman in Kramatorsk who tries to rescue war pets. He does. I think the last time he was here, he brought her 500 kilos of dog food. He's a good guy, that Tony. Give him a vote. Do you think Trump will actually follow through with his latest threats to Putin? Michael, I don't think Trump follows through with anything. The question is, will the Chinese think he's going to follow through? Because it looks like the Indians do, and it looks like the Indians are backing off buying Russian oil. Right now, there are 4 Shadow Fleet tankers circling in the Indian Ocean because they have been refused port entry. That's good news. That's good news. So the question is, will China believe it? And will China believe it, and will they stop buying Russian oil? That's a question. And I don't have an answer to that. We're going to have to wait and see. Was that a no smoking trip? I think it must have been because he made it. They will never take a threat from tacos seriously. Yeah, you're probably right. What do you think happens if China stops buying oil from Russia? Russia collapses. Russia collapses. 40% of the state budget revenues, 40% of what the Russians have to spend comes from taxes on oil and gas revenue. You take those away, it's over. That's funny. Well, thanks, pal. I would like to see Kenya. I sure would. I really would. You guys have elephants. I'd like to see some elephants. You have everything. You have the big five. I'd like to see elephants and rhinos and giraffes and all of it. I've eaten springbok. What else have I eaten? I've eaten giraffe, camel, springbok, gazelle. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Lions and tigers and bears on mine. No bears in Africa, right? No bears in Africa. That's why there's no bears in the Bible. I think there's only 8 references to bears in the whole Bible. Okay, we're down to about 4 minutes. Again, let me thank Madam President's son, Michael, who sponsored this live. Thank you so much, folks. I've never had reindeer. I've had caribou. Big thanks to our sponsors. Guys, I don't have any sponsors next week. If anybody can help me out, that would be great. Also, big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server. Big thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. Join us there if you haven't yet. I've had kangaroo. And big thanks to the moderator team, best moderators on the Tickety Talk, Jay, Travis, Pete, Maddie, and Feisty. Thank you all so much. And we hit 155,000 likes. You guys are crazy. Alligator, you know, Bip, it was funny. When my son was younger, he wouldn't eat a hamburger. He would not touch a hamburger. He ate steak and other beef, but he didn't like hamburger. But he would eat alligator and rattlesnake, no problem. Loved alligator and rattlesnake. Ha! The honey badger is Ukraine's spirit animal, hardly. Thank you, Feisty. Oh, sure. I've eaten lots of shark. There was, my father used to work for a Japanese fella who got the best Mako shark steaks you ever had in your life. I mean, I don't know where he got them. I don't know why they were so much better than any other Mako I ever had. But they were. I mean, that guy, well, it was a sushi place. He knew fish. Japanese guy named Shinto. Great stuff. See, Nana Pam, that's the thing, right? With those Mako steaks that Dad would get off Mr. Shinto, they weren't like that. So often that's the problem, right? Is they're tough. And I think a lot of that has to do with preparation. I forget now. Dad used to marinate them overnight in some sauce that Shinto gave him. Black bear's okay. It's hard to get it right. I think it's very greasy. There's only so much of it that you really want to use for cooking. For me, I feel like bears are too smart to eat. It's the same reason I won't eat a porpoise or a dolphin or a whale. I feel like they're just too smart to eat. Yeah, I've never had shark fin soup. My understanding is that, you know, shark fin soup, the shark is killed just for the fin, for the soup. No other part of that shark is edible. And I'm not down with that. That's not. You keep kookaburras. I love a kookaburra. Yeah, Dino, you're not wrong. I agree. Bears are majestic. They're smart. They're majestic. Smart. Too smart to eat. Well, Kiwi Annie, I'm not sure the sharks would say the same about you. Horses are too smart to eat. They eat a lot of horse in this country. It's very strange to see horse on the menu. Yes, it is. That's funny, Pip. Yeah, it's Eastern Europe. Yeah, horse is a thing here. So only two sharks that attack humans. And you're going to say, let me guess, great white and, shit. The one that goes up the bays, swims up rivers. Not blue sharks. Oh, for the love of God, why can't I think of that? Bull, thank you, T-Bone. Right, what about tiger sharks? Tiger sharks attack people. What about hammerheads? Hammerheads eat people. Anyway. Barracuda. I can't see the word barracuda without thinking of the 1980 song, Barracuda. Bull sharks. That's what Jaws was supposed to be based on, was a bull shark. They chose the psychopath. That's funny. I might use that. Lars, you're funny. All right, guys, it's 1 a.m. here. I am going to call it a night. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. I appreciate everybody hanging out. And make it a great day. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Monday.